Matt Razor, how old are you? I'm closing in on 30, wondering how you came to the conclusion that you're too old to play core LOL. Well, Matt Razor, I'm turning 27 today. Here's my coffee as well, cheers. And the problem is that when I picked at 7K and tried a little bit of mid, there were all these 15, 16-year-old, Russians, or like, all these like pop stars that were just clicking better than me. And I just found myself, playing Razor, playing Vipers, playing Queen of Pains, all heroes that I love in the mid lane. But when I was playing Pac, which is a hero I used to be also a Pac spammer, I felt like, Pac is good, but he needs to, to make the lane work. But at the same time, he doesn't have a very obvious way to win the lane. So when I was playing Pac, or I was playing Void Spirit or Storm, I struggled a little bit. So I'm like, I'm just not clicking that fast, mechanically wise. They were just better, Moving up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster. All right, let's start this video. So, this was a post originally about, what type of content you would like to see, if you will, if the content I'm uploading is good or not. Anyway, I had a few people coming over saying, hey, it's pretty good, keep it up. So thank you very much about that. And mostly what you actually comment below is questions about supporting. So I guess we are going to see every single question, right? And we are going to answer them. So that's going to be, that's going to be like a Q&A about supporting, right? So without wasting time, let's jump to Walter Mantra. That's a cute name. What areas of the map gives us most vision and least chance of it being dewarded? I'm not really sure I understand the correction, what areas of the map gives us most vision, but you mean probably from what areas of the map, if I place vision, we will benefit the most, right? What I'll say is that the triangle and the offlane, after the tier 1 fall in the offlane falls, is where your safe laner wants to farm. So it's really good to actually have a ward there, right? To place vision around the enemy offlane once the enemy tier 1 fall. So the moment the enemy tier 1 fall, you'll say your safe laner, hey dude, just go there, farm, I'm gonna ward, you're gonna be safe. He farms for 10-15 minutes, you just win the game, right? And you'll say the least chance of it being dewarded. Before I forget, if the tier 1 fall on the offlane does not fall, he has to farm to the jungle, your jungle, So make sure that you ward your jungle, right? Rather than the enemy jungle and your triangle, right? So play around the safe lane before tier 1 in the offlane gets destroyed, and then move to the top lane and make sure you have enough vision for your safe laner to actually farm. You say the least chance of it being dewarded. So that's actually quite tricky, right? Because yeah, there are some placements, some places that you just use wards that most likely are going to get dewarded. What I'm gonna say is that if you're going to be nearby the wards, it doesn't really matter if they know or if they attempt to actually deward, because you're gonna play around your vision. But if you feel like you get dewarded a lot, try not to use wards on uphills, right? Try to place the observer wards on ground vision, right? I think that this is what I usually do. If I don't, if I want to place deep vision, I'm probably not going to use them on uphill rather than ground vision, right? Because uphill is where they're gonna place sentry in the first place, like the very first spot they're gonna use a sentry. And HMLB says, oh, she tries to answer, so oh, that's a big answer. Okay, maybe we read that later on. When do I huffle? Well, you can always huffle. That's the answer, right? You can always huffle. But the problem is, like for example, when I huffle, you can huffle, get 2 creeps, you can huffle, get 3 creeps, and you can huffle, get the range creep. Usually what I do, if I see that there's not a lot of back and forth and trading and the lane is quite static, I'm just pulling just the range creep, which like takes a little bit of effort to get used to that. So I'm just pulling the range creep, so I get to deny the range creep every single time, right? HMLB says your half pull when you need to reset equilibrium back to your tower. That's true, but you can also single pull, right, to do that, because all you want to do, okay, let's read the full answer. A full pull would kill off the small camp, and would stack with the next wave. That is true, and then double wave. All right, that is true. HMLB, you're not wrong, but what he can do is actually half pull, full pull, and try to kill the creep wave with right clicks as fast as you can, so the two waves will not connect, right? So you can just single pull and kill the wave really fast. I'm not suggesting half pull for equilibrium sometimes, because it will reset the equilibrium just a little bit later on. If you want to do something instantly, you just single pull, right? And you just right click really fast so the two waves will not connect. Matt Razor, how old are you? I'm closing in on 30, wondering how you came to the conclusion that you're too old to play core, LOL. Well, Matt Razor, I'm turning 27 today. Here's my coffee as well, cheers. And the problem is that when I picked at 7K and tried a little bit of mid, there were all these 15, 16-year-old, Russians, or like, all these like pop stars that were just clicking better than me. And I just found myself, playing Razor, playing Vipers, playing Queen of Pains, all heroes that I love in the mid lane. But when I was playing Pac, which is a hero I used to be also a Pac spammer, I felt like, Pac is good, but he needs to, to make the lane work. But at the same time, he doesn't have a very obvious way to win the lane. So when I was playing Pac, or I was playing Void Spirit or Storm, I struggled a little bit. So I'm like, I'm just not clicking that fast, mechanically wise. They were just better, and they should be, they're like 10 years younger than me. So yeah, if you hit 7, 8K, I haven't been 8K first yet, but if you hit 7, 8K, you might understand that. But I think that most people lack mechanics. So even until 6K, for example, I'm sitting at 6.5, a little bit more, and I can actually mid pretty decent, right? Even if I'm rusty. Or what? Aura Kleso of Fire. Aura Kleso of Fire. I know how to pronounce that. Apologies. On average, how many salves do you buy each game as a post 5 specifically? So that's actually a great question, right? That's actually a great question. Sadly, I don't really have an answer, right? The videos I'm uploading, I play with a really greedy position 1 player, right? So I end up buying 3 or 4. But if I see that I'm actually buying a lot of salves in a small period of time, I usually tell him, this is just not working out. If you end up buying a lot of salves and you don't really have, anything done in the lane, some kills, some favorable trades, the problem is that, and this is what happens in my games as well, is I have no game. I end up with level 4, 10 minutes in. If I have boots, I'm actually quite happy, but I end up with a wind lace, and then I'm just trying to go back and forth. Maybe I ask for a lane, I need to come back, I need more levels, I need some gold to work with. Right? So if you see that you're just buying way too many salves, you can just tell your core, dude, it's just not working out, right? Let's say a really simple example would be having Wraith King, right? And you play versus something versus that's quite hard, like something lane or something, right? So that's a lane that probably, and you have something like, I don't know, pretty weak, I don't know, Kotal, right? And you can just say it's just not working out and just move on. D8 Roof Boss. Hey, I'm out of roll queue games, so think about queuing 15 games of all rolls and most likely will get support, so what to pick, when to pull, and what after laning. Okay, that's actually, you're just asking, how to play support here. That's actually big of an answer, but okay, what I did depends on the MMR. The higher you get, the more lane dominators you want, and the lower MMR, the higher ultimate heroes you want. So when I was like 4 or 5K, what I did, I played a lot of Silencer, a lot of Wyvern, the old Kotal with the Will-O-Wisp, generally heroes that their ultimate will always scale, right? When to pull at 116 or 146, if you want half pull, 148, maybe 149, just to get one range creep, and 1 melee creep. And what after laning, apologies, what you want to do is play around your cores, depends on what you have. So if you have an Abaddon, you want to play around your cores, constantly run around cores, but if you have, and try to heal them, save them, because it's what the hero does. If you have something like a Kotal, You want to push waves, ideally the hard lane, which is going to be the safe lane once your tower is gone. If you have a lich or a trend, you want to protect towers. And if you have something that kills, Carrot Mates, Crystal Maiden, then what you want to do is get a smoke and ask these 3 conscious questions. Who do I want to kill? Who do I want to be with me? Where is he going to farm most likely? So the last question is probably triangle if he farms fast, like Luna, Gyrocopter, Medusa. And if he doesn't have a Battle Fury or is a slow farmer like Lifestealer or a PA, Anti-Mage before Battle Fury, probably they're jungle. Hopefully that answered your questions. Personally, I'm a CM lover, but I think Lich and Zakira are just way better of a heroes. I think you can just also pick Oracle, but if you're coming from a core standpoint, probably you will not like the hero because you will be out of position most likely. Wall Heart is cute. Alright, I love all these names. Stacking and pulling. I main post 3 in low 5k, and every game my post 4 has no idea how when to pull, so I'd like to know how to tell them how when to do it. Okay, that's actually quite... It's a really common problem, right? Because you might tell them to pull, and that's the only thing that you can do. Tell them to pull. If they do it, good. If they don't, you know, good luck, right? But what you can do is tell them, if you're Radiant, to hit the camp at 150, right? Because you can hit it on 150, stack and pull, right? The main thing you need to do is to tell them to actually block the small camp, right? This is super important. Ideally with a sentry, if they don't have a sentry, at least body block, right? And then you always want to push the wave. So even if they don't end up pulling, you know, the wave, what you can do is, hey, you don't pull the wave, let us play aggressive under tower for something, get a favorable trade, right? How to tell them, use your microphone. If you're in Southeast Asia, might be a little bit hard. If you're Europe or NA, probably most of these regions speak English, right? Even though I think stack and pull are quite common as words. Hopefully that answers your questions. Also, for everyone that WhatsApp, 4 and 5k bracket are actually the toughest because the gap, the skill gap, is actually huge. And believe it or not, at 6k, games become easier to play. 4 and 5k are actually quite hard. So I think when I was 5.2, 5.3, this is where I had my hardest games to actually. Until I reached Immortal, then it actually went smooth because people were a little bit better. How do I consistently... Wait, Juan Culas. Maybe Juan? Unknown. How do I consistently hit good CS? I have DotA Plus and it's always a middle stat. I have... Okay, probably that's not a support question, John, but if you're a core and you're asking how do I hit more CS per minute, go to the triangle and go to the enemy offlane once it's tier 1, and the reason why everyone farms there is because every single creep wave, every single jungle creep is actually next to the wave, so you can constantly hit creeps. Wave, jungle, back to triangle, and repetition, right? If you go to the safe lane jungle and you go in the deep jungle near the tier 2 mid lane, then probably you see that there is no creep wave nearby. And if there is a creep wave in your tier 2 in the mid lane, probably you have other issues to solve in that game, because that means no one cares about the creep waves. Malt Mix. I mostly post 4-5 around low mid 4k depending on how lucky I get with matchmaking, since a lot of people in this bracket seem to have the mental fortitude of children and the constant argument I see when we lose is that because I have like 4 or 5 deaths by the end of the lane. However, while I know 1 or 2 were damaged, probably avoidable, it usually ends up being the majority of them drawing the attention, right? So what you're saying is you draw the attention, they chase you, they chase you and you die, but what you're saying is you actually gain time because your position 1 is uncontested. That and I'll get flamed if I pull and the wave isn't basically under the enemy tier 1, though I had a coaching session with Jenkins who gave me the idea that it's worth it because worst case scenario, it draws the attention, right? and takes the pressure of the carry. Best case scenario, then don't do anything about it and lose out. All right. We'll talk about Jenkins as well. One last question is it worth it still to try to funnel XP to the carry? All right. So what you're asking here is give carry free farm, and that means for you being level 4 at 10 minutes in. All right. So let's take them malt mix one by one. 4-5 deaths are a lot in the lane, unless you end up killing someone and then they just take the return kill, right? So I'm pretty sure you're always out of position, and you're usually out of position when you are playing on the jungle area. So you have a Dazzle, let's say, Dazzle, CM, AA, doesn't matter, these heroes are quite similar. And they have a Tusker, they have Cloak. And you just get out of position, just so easy. They have Boots, Battery Assault, Ice Art, and they just kill you, right? So if you see that they have some kind of roamer, play on the other side of the map, focus on killing the position 3, or at least harassing, right? Don't go in the jungle area. And you say also here that they chase you, they lose time. I'm gonna agree with Jenkins. It's actually quite worth that they chase you. But the question is, how much time do they chase you? If they chase you beyond the small camp, then yes, it's actually worth. If they chase you and they just waste 5 seconds, it's not. Here's why. You will end up dying. You will be under-leveled. That means the moment you die, they will actually turn to the safe laner. It's going to be a 2v1 scenario, and this is how you win lanes. 2v1, right? You find for 2v1 opportunities. And then, for the period of time that you'll be dead, your safe laner most likely is not going to have fun, right? So that is the downside. Unless it chases you for quite some time, beyond the small camp, then it's probably not worth it. If they actually do invest a lot of time, then it's totally worth it. I think I have my Jakiro game. The first 2 minutes is this exact thing. So you might actually take a look and you'll actually see the difference between chasing you and not chasing you, right? But I think Jenkins is right, but again, beyond small camp, good. Before, not that good. So one last question, give XP. All right, so do you give XP to your safe laner? And that means sacrificing your XP. I'm gonna say yes, you do that. And you do that ideally with heroes that scale with levels. So, for example, heroes like Draw Ranger, PL, with the level 6 power spike, P, and so on, you definitely want to do that. But it's important for you to get level 2 fast. Because whoever gets level 2 faster in the lane is it's the team that can actually force something. It's the team that can actually, if you're level 2 and you're level 1, you have double the spells. Double the spells means you can actually force them, most likely favorable trade up, and then you just win the lane on the spot. So make sure you actually take level 2 and not start sacrificing from the very beginning, all right? Unless you have something that you see, so you have something like a Jag. Jag doesn't have a level 2 power spike, or something, something like a Warlock and a Spec, then you can just start sacking, not sacking XP, you can just step outside, focus a little bit more stacking on pulling, half pull, deny the range, prove, etc. Hopefully that's helpful. Malpix, drinking coffee. Just Some Phil says, what heroes are you playing in 5? What about 4? I'm a hero spammer, usually pick 3-4 due to bans, and always love some high memorization on what's a good pick first pick. Right, okay. I'm gonna tell you what I play, right? Rather than what it's good, right? So in the 4 position, I like Clockwork, I like Keeper of the Light, I like Spirit Breaker. These are my go-to heroes. I like Rubik. It's not really going that good lately, but Coddle, Spirit Breaker, Bounty Hunter is the heroes that I'm having the most success. Now, I also love Jakiro and Maiden. I love Maiden more than Jakiro, but, in the post-roll, anything can work as long as Jakiro scales, right? So, I am a huge CM lover, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think Jakiro is also really good. In the 5 role, I'm playing Oracle, CM. I'm also playing Enchantress a lot, maybe sometimes position 4. I love Enchantress. I think it's a better 10, since I used to be a 10 spammer. But now if you're lower MMR, I would suggest heroes like Wyvern, heroes like Undying, heroes like Silencer, anything that has some ability that's really good in the late game, right? Because what used to be my problem in the 4-5k bracket, I used to pick CM, I used to spam mangoes, you know, a lot of sacrificial support, stomp the lane, and then I had no game. And at the same time, I had no ability that was game changing, right? So hopefully that's helpful, right? So with Wyvern, for example, and Silencer, you have Global, you have Curse, Undying has Tombstone, his ultimate's really good with the amplification, it's quite tanky. So I think these heroes are actually quite good. Hopefully that's an answer, just some feels. Blood out the sun and 5k playing support, and I really am stuck around 5.2k. Yeah, that's actually as I said before, that's actually the hardest thing to actually the hardest bracket. I used to actually struggle a lot as well. I feel like I'm doing all the right things. My lane journey does fine. I worked for my carry to farm, perfect, fair region, all the things. I'm coaching my team and my carry on win conditions and timings, and find a lot of my loss are from lack of interest in teamwork from my teammates. So you're coaching your team. Probably what you mean is you're shot calling, right? Which I also like a lot, you know. Is there a better way to combat this? I know for carries and mid players, coach always say if you didn't win this, it's your fault. I'm 10k and anything can work sub 7k. That's actually not true. You will actually, like, I've played with a lot of these 10k players on their smurfs, and they actually lost the games, right? Of course they won as well, but they're not having a good time in the game as well. It's not like they're gonna pick Crystal Maiden mid or I don't know, Undying position 4, and they're just going to say, hey, just worked out because I'm 10k. No, that's just not gonna happen. But you really don't think that's the case with the support role. Would like to hear my thoughts. All right, Blood Out the Sun. Here's my thoughts. I think you're doing the correct thing. What helped me a lot is actually be really efficient the first 10 minutes, stacking and pulling and moving. You know, sometimes you see, you know, the position 5 just going 5 seconds before the pull time to wait for the pull. No, you can't do that. You're at the bracket that's actually quite competitive. You need to be better than the enemy support. You will never be able, and this applies for all roles, you will never be able to solo win, right? You can't solo win. You just need to give the best possible conditions to your safe laner in the lane and to your team overall in the mid game to carry the game. You will not carry the game, you'll give the best possible conditions, all right? This is what the support is all about, right? At least at position 5. In the position 4 role, yeah, maybe you can carry the game, but again, it's like due to proper initiation, finding pickoffs, etc. How do you combat the lack of interest and teamwork, right? Sadly, I don't really have answer to that, you know, because it's actually quite lucky. What I'll say is that make sure you have the best possible behavior score, because I've been lower behavior score and the games are a complete clown fiesta. So that doesn't really say anything, you know. It doesn't really mean that your teamwork quality from your teammates is gonna be better, but what it means is that it's not gonna be lower, right? Hopefully, I really hope I had a better answer for that, but it is something I used to struggle in that specific bracket. You just not have to be more efficient. You can just fix yourself. If you're indeed shot calling and putting the word and fairing region, you're doing everything correct, man. You're doing what I'm doing and giving the calls. Hopefully the calls are correct. You know, your map movements and so on. But what I would suggest is become better the first 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, right? If you have some other questions, feel free to DM me and maybe we can actually do something. What's your role of the post-fight support in pub late games? I feel lost. As most carriers won't listen to you post-laning stage. In mid-game, you still have stance. It's no place to impact the game, but in the late game, most carriers get a BKB and kill you instantly. So how to be impactful? Tekudiv, you are actually correct, right? In the late game, you do also have smokes, hopefully, but if you don't have smokes, your best friend is Glimmer Cape, Force Staff, Ghost Scepter, and the Aeon Disc, right? I know that people are all about Etherlands, but I feel like, you know, they have PAs, they blink, stun, critical, so you do need defensive items. If for somehow you survive an initiation, you might win the fight on the spot. Imagine a PA or a Sven or anything pretty much jumping at you using Ghost Scepter or Glimmer Cape, and they're like in the middle of nowhere and you're still alive. Their BKB duration is over, you're just starting the fight. Glimmer Cape, 4-star Ghost Scepter, your best friends depending on the game all the time, right? What you're saying is also your position might be bad. What you can do late game, and most supports are actually beasts late game. Imagine Leeds. Frostfield, it's actually insane, Imagine, I don't know, AA. Ultimate is insane, doesn't allow you Satanic. Ice Path on Jakiran is insane. Abaddon is insane. Trent is insane. Like, so many heroes are insane. So supports are actually, their abilities, are actually, most of them are actually so good. So what you can do is make sure that you will not be the one initiating, right? And to do that, you need defensive items. If you don't have defensive items and you have something like Adrenalin's first item, and you can go Yules, and then probably not gonna work out. These are items that you usually get on Rubik, that you get on Hoodwink, etc. Right? But if you, always get defensive items if you feel like your life is at risk. And last questions, decency. How you do evaluate when you should be playing defensively instead of putting pressure on the map? I frequently have troubles in game when multiple calls, course, want to hit jungle creeps, right? Mostly just stacking and split pushing. Alright, that's actually quite simple. You play defensively and you just find whatever pickups are actually pickups that will not change the game, will just, support position 5 Warlock. You mainly do that when you're 100% sure you win late game. For example, PL versus Draw Ranger. Most likely you're gonna win. You have Alchemist and PL in the team, or like Alchemist and, I don't know, Lifestealer, and they have a Chaos Knight. When you have stuff like that, you just want to find every single kill, whatever, and just delay the game as much as you can, because most likely you win late game. If you're not sure who wins late game, make sure you try to smoke and find the real condition with the question we just said above, right? I do have one more question on chat by Tonight Nice. Good name. Hi, and thanks for offering tips. I play support mainly Wyvern and Doctor. Unfortunately, I'm stuck at Crusader 4. Random teammates often don't seem to be much help when you want to rank up. Any tips on that? Thanks in advance. Often don't seem to be of much help when you want to rank up. For bad teammates, no. There's not such a thing. You just have to be more efficient. That's it. I'm pretty sure, I really wish there was something more to say, but what I did to rank up from 4K to 7K at my peak was to give, shot calling, which also has a risk if you actually give bad calls to get reported. So I got reported a lot, I'm not gonna lie. But so shot calling can become more efficient the first 5-10 minutes in, knowing who wins the matchup, who has the edge. For example, level 2 Power Spike for Wyvern is really strong, level 3 for Witch Talker is these are the moments that you force things. You need to know these things, you need to know the matchups. There are a lot of things, rather than teammates don't often seem of much help, Try to focus mainly on yourself and try to out-support the enemy support, and you'll see slow or rapid progress. Boys, that was all the questions. Hopefully I will, I haven't missed anyone. If I missed anyone, please send me a DM and I will personally answer that. Have a good morning, and hopefully this is going to be helpful for everyone. GG.